Look at the amazing improvement between year 1 versus year 2. So let's zoom in real quick. And there's a lot of coverage, but not only that, but it's like so thick and dense and wiry to the point where you'd even question if he has a hair loss issue. Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another video. And this video is going to be a review on a picture that I saw on Trestless, or a series of pictures that I saw on Trestless, the subreddit for hair loss. And I have to say, this is by far one of the best recoveries that I've seen just on the basics, finasteride, minoxidil, and he also derma-rolled, but I think he would have gotten the same improvements anyway. So you can see the long-term effects of using a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor for the condition of androgenetic alopecia. So without further ado, let's just go through this camera roll. So you can see in the beginning, this guy had some pretty extensive hair loss. So let's try to open it up real quick. You can see that in the midsection, he's pretty much diffuse, right? Completely diffuse. He has some bit of a hairline, but for the most part, he has a diffuse alopecia that's androgenetic in condition. And you can see that there's a ton of miniaturization to the point where it's just mostly scalp in, at least under this particular lighting condition, right? But this is day 1, right? Versus the 6 months. So 6 months into treatment, we can see that there's some improvement. So realistically, he probably in this initial picture, he shaved his head a bit. But over here, you can see that he's letting his hair grow out. But even so, right, you can still see that there are some areas where there's just not enough density. The lighting is obviously not the same. In the first picture, he's in a pretty light room, and the second picture, it's like pretty dark, or decently darker. But that was 6 months in, right? But you can see the sort of difference over here. So the midsection still has some follicles, and this is the important part about treatment, is that even in areas that are significantly, miniaturized, there is a chance for there to be a substantial amount of recovery when it comes to hair loss. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. This is why even if you're seemingly too far gone, quote unquote, it doesn't hurt for you to at least try the medication out and to see how it would work for you, right? And remember, with these sort of medications, long-term is the goal. You don't want to think in 2 months will I have this progress. You want to think year, like a year in or 2 years in, how you're going to look. Because people think because you've been on the treatment for X amount of months, you should be getting X amount of improvement. When in reality, it varies between people. This guy that we're looking at could just be a hyper responder, and you might be the typical responder. So to stay on treatment, at the very least, what you can hope for is for things stabilizing and not getting worse, and maybe getting some sort of regrowth benefit. But the earlier you are to treating your hair loss, the better you will get in terms of outcome. And it always helps to know what kind of alopecia condition you have. So remember that. So let's go back to the... Okay, now we're seeing some crazy growth over here. This is, 1 year in? All right, 1 year in. And guys, just looking at this picture, which, you can see that there's some bit of miniaturization in the temple and maybe in that sort of midsection over here. But for the most part, the hair is very, very dense and very thick. And also, this person's hair texture, this guy's hair texture, probably complements for giving some good coverage because he seems to have some kind of a wavy hair type. So that's definitely helping him as well. So that's definitely going to aid in the aesthetics department. But yeah, let's compare his 1 year result, to his beginning, right? To his day 1. And I bet you if he just grew out this hair and he never started treatment and he were to compare it to how he is a year in, right? If we were to compare those two, you would see like a large difference between the two pictures, right? So this is the whole point about you want to be on medication. You want for there to be like some sort of suppression of scalp DHT so you can get this kind of progress. This doesn't come overnight. Again, remember that this is with long-term treatment and keeping your eye on the ball, and also managing any other, conditions, inflammatory scalp conditions, that would certainly help as well. So let's look at his scalp 6 months in, and as you can see, 6 months in, that area was definitely, miniaturized to an extent, but he probably had enough follicles that could sort of reactivate and respond to treatment such that he could get the response that he did at year 1. Now we're going to go to year 2. And as you can see in year 2, the same room, same lighting conditions. Let's compare the two. Look at this. Look at the amazing improvement between year 1 versus year 2. So let's zoom in real quick. This is year 1. Look at the temporal area. At least on this would be the right hand temple. So my left, and maybe your left, and is right. But we're looking at this temple, this right hand temple. And look at this. Miniaturized a bit, but over here, it's grown back. It's very dense. The texture of the hair is very, it's very ample. And there's a lot of coverage, but not only that, but it's like so thick and dense and wiry to the point where you'd even question if he has a hair loss issue. So guys, this is the importance, right? This is the importance of getting onto treatment and starting as soon as possible. It's very important. And this guy is definitely a younger dude. I think I saw in the comments, I think he might be in his 20s. So there's a point here that with early response, right? Even if you have a severe fast hair loss, so long as you act early relative to when you started losing your hair, you should be able to make a substantial recovery or to halt the speed of the loss. Now, I'm wondering how his hair would have been if he just started on dutasteride and minoxidil, whether topical or oral. I'm sure it would be, he probably would have recognized the benefits. Maybe the year 2 mark would have been the year 1 instead. But, this is going to be the benefit of long-term scalp DHT suppression. This is why it's important to start treatment as soon as possible. So guys, I don't want to, go through this too much, but use this as a point of inspiration. Get started on your hair loss treatment journey. And if you're watching this video and you got this far to the end, just know that I do hair loss consultations. I don't charge too much, but I can help you get, the ball rolling, answer some quick questions, and help you, sort of come up with a treatment plan that you and your doctor can kind of talk over and maybe have a bit more of an informed discussion with your doctor, because sometimes people just come in without having any sort of understanding of the literature, and I can definitely kind of help you get there. So that link will be in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out. And yeah, this guy who had this progress, this is better than my progress. Like, this is amazing. And obviously it's not the typical result, but it's certainly something very substantial. So yeah, see you on the next one, guys. Peace out.